in Kenya today, a presidential candidate needs backing from two scenarios. The first scenario is, how much money do you have to sell yourself to the Republic of Kenya?
The financial muscle.
The financial muscle. And then the next, do you have a residue, a backing from a minimum level that you can't lose? Do you have a home constituency that you are coming to the table with? Do you have a tribe that is following you without challenge from anyone else? Singapore is a yardstick. Singapore is a role model because it did it in a very short time. That is why we are talking about Singapore. What I know is that Ndindi Nyoro, whatever he does profound things and then make them public. Development goes hand in hand with education. In fact, the key facilitator of development is education. Then you add investment, you add employment, you add infrastructures like transport, communication and all, and then you are good to go.
Well, hello, welcome to yet another show, the first interview of this year 2026. I do believe that we are also going to work together throughout this year of 2026 as we continue bringing new conversations that not only shapes our governance system but also the political landscape. I also do believe that you had some good time and best moments with your family during the festive season, and also for the parents who are still taking their children to school throughout this week. Keep the spirit on. We are coming to you with new things this year of 2026, as I must tell you that if you need any business partnership with the Kenya Times, then don't hesitate to reach out through the contact that has been provided below. There's a group of team that will actually respond to you as soon as possible, and even for more details. There's a lot of things that happened throughout the festive season, a lot of events even thereafter, and even most recently, we are talking of the Singapore dream, the political space and the atmosphere of this country. We are going to discuss all those together with my guest today, who is none other than Mr. Odoyo Owidi. He's my guest today, my first guest of the year 2026. Follow us throughout this conversation until the end. I'm your host, Nixon Njau. Welcome, sir, to the Kenya Times.
Thank you, Nixon.
And good to see you.
It's nice being here.
Yeah.
Yes, something new in the new year.
Absolutely.
Asante.
How is everything on your side, and maybe how was your festive season, and how is the year taking you?
I can't complain, but there's nothing to celebrate either.
Why?
There's nothing to celebrate. It's just the same one.
Yeah.
The same year, same lanes, no additional lane, no constriction of life pathways. We are going.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And maybe let's begin, even before we dive into the Singapore dream, to look out, is it possible for Kenya to be there? Recently, the Kiharu Member of Parliament, Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, announced to his constituents that, you know what, the fees has been reduced to 500 shillings. First and foremost, is it possible for an MP to do that? And if it is possible, why are other MPs within the country not doing the same?
First of all, how does he achieve it? That is what is important. He achieves it by subsidizing the fees using the CDF. The others may have chosen to use that money for something else, because each and every constituency has its own budget and its own priorities. There are certain areas where infrastructure in education is a priority to the school fees. And I also hear Ndindi Nyoro is not financing higher education, he's only financing basic education. So that means it leaves him with more money to use to subsidize the school fees. And I also want to believe that there are also some MPs who are doing some very profound things in the education sector, but they are probably not telling the world. So the question should be, why are they not telling the world? They ought to be, like Ndindi Nyoro. Yes. And
maybe many people and some of the Kenyans have been asking, why are other members of parliament, not following the footpaths, of Ndindi Nyoro?
I do not know whether they also think Ndindi Nyoro is a role model for them. I do not think Ndindi Nyoro is a yardstick for them. What I know is that Ndindi Nyoro, whatever he does profound things and then make them public. I used to tell people that in some places in this world, especially where I come from, if you do one giant thing, you are better than somebody who has done a million miniature things, because they like things which are great. And see, something big will attract publicity. Something small, however many they are, if they are scattered, will never attract any publicity. So their returning result is zero. And a large thing, the returning result is 1/1, which is 100%. So I think Ndindi Nyoro has chosen to do profound things, large things, good things, even if they are small, and make them known to the public. But the others maybe are doing other smaller things in their own way. But nevertheless, Ndindi Nyoro is a cut above the rest for now.
For now. And maybe, is Ndindi Nyoro now a presidential material?
I think that is a bit too early to think so, because in Kenya today, a presidential candidate needs backing from two scenarios. The first scenario is, how much money do you have to sell yourself to the Republic of Kenya?
The financial muscle.
The financial muscle. And then the next, do you have a residue, a backing from a minimum level that you can't lose? Do you have a home constituency that you are coming to the table with? Do you have a tribe that is following you without challenge from anyone else? Now, those are some of the things that you look at before you become material. There are some very good people who could make even better presidents, but they don't have those two, and they don't qualify, and their candidature is not credible, it's not believable. Yes, it's something people wouldn't even give a chance.
And don't you think, Mr. Odoyo, that we are heading to the future where Kenyans or the new generation is going to focus on the personality more than the ethnic groupings?
For now, that is wishful thinking, because as late as last year, you saw when an ethnic king stood to stand with the government, the Gen Z walked home. How do you explain that? That tells you that we are not there yet. We only wish to be there. We only wish to be in a society where we will look at the person and the job, evaluate and give them the job. But no, most Kenyans, when I say most, I think that is too marginal. A large majority of Kenyans have no ideas of their own, have no observations of their own, are incapable of evaluating leaders. They wait to be told, and they wait to be told by someone they believe in, some sort of kingpin, and then they follow. For example, when you saw the Gen Z protest, as much as many of them want to say, we saw this was wrong and so we went to the streets, the truth of the matter, somebody pushed them onto the streets. It is like in an auditorium. When a speaker is speaking, it takes one person to start clapping, then the rest joins. Those rest who are joined, if you tell them it is the first person to clap who pushed you to doing that, they will refuse. They will deny it. So, similarly, if we do not have somebody who pushes people into seeing something, into doing something, they don't. So that is why it is not going to be possible so soon to have a society which looks at the personality. In Kenya, people make decisions rather emotionally. And that explains why you find families. When your father sees you coming home with a new lady, he will look at the lady even without talking. After some time, he will tell you, I don't think this is a good girl for my son. That evaluation, they can't do to leaders. but they are able to do it to the spouses of their children. How
To
come?
their families.
How come? Because of the emotions involved in this one. And within their own families, they tend to be objective and honest. But in society, they may follow inducements, they may follow some sort of jealousy and tribalism that comes with it, and then they use that to make a decision. They say, we want so-and-so, but deep inside him, they want so-and-so because he comes from their clan. They want so-and-so because he has given them something small. And that is how they make their decisions.
Maybe she has gone to school and so on.
In politics, they wouldn't not even look at that. We have elected some people who have never even gone to school properly because they have given us something, or because they come from our community, or because they were friends to our family. That's all. But your own thing, you need the best for it. That is why you are able to see spouses for your children and judge them. That is why when you need a fundi to do your own development, you look for the best irrespective of which community it comes from. But for Kenya, you can give them anything because of biasness that is inbuilt in you. Yes.
And you have also talked and mentioned about the financial muscle. Well, how much do someone have or needs to contest for the presidency?
It also depends on how you want to operate. It also depends on who you have on your side before you begin. For example, our latest entrant into the presidential race is former CS Eliud Owalo. He has gone in now, but Kenyans are laying back watching. Is he credible? Is he believable? Is he a formidable contender? Now, those three things, to achieve them to the positive, for the people to take you as a credible candidate, a believable candidate, a formidable candidate, you have to go out and demonstrate that, and that takes resources. But the other person in that race is, say, Kalonzo Musyoka or President William Ruto. They don't need to prove those three things. Credibility, believability, or formidability. They don't need to prove. So that is money that he had spent a long time ago. But a new entrant has to spend that now. People would want now
because he's a new person in
yes,
the field.
People would now want to see the new person holding large political rallies, having a large following of names behind him.
And crowds.
Yes. And where necessary, arriving at functions in style. Then they start to believe in you. All that requires money. Okay. So the money a person requires depends also where he's beginning from. Yeah. If you are beginning from a level where you are already credible, believable, and formidable, then you don't need a lot of money. Number two is also the money is going to be used depending on when you start. You may say, I'm a presidential candidate now, but keep quiet until it is 8 months. Then you start running around. But if you want to do it now again and again, then you will have to spend a lot of money. Again, if your community already believes in you, then that is a head start. So these are all things put together. That is what is going to determine your budget for this race. You saw there was a man called Maraga.
Yes, David Maraga,
yes,
the former chief
minister. He started this thing, but he didn't realize it is not what people think about you.
But
it is what your pocket knows about you. Yes.
But he said Kenyans themselves will fund him.
Kenyans are not like that. Kenyans are looking up to the leaders to fund them, and you want them to fund you. This is not United States.
Okay.
Yes. This is not United States, where you want a good leader, so you look for the good one and fund him to win. No. Here it is the opposite.
It is the other way around.
It's the other way around. It is the leader to fund us. Yes.
So, according to you, it varies depending.
It varies widely.
Yes.
Widely.
Okay. So let's now dive into now the Singapore dream, because that is the main topic of discussion in this interview. President Ruto has recently been advocating so much on, moving Kenya from the third world country to the first world country.
First of all, the viewers need to understand what
Yes.
that Singapore dream really means.
Yes, let's begin from there. What does it mean, Mr.
Yes.
Odoyo?
What it really means, we need to be as developed as Singapore in the same time period as Singapore did. Because why would we want just to be developed like Singapore and not like UK or US or Switzerland? Singapore is a yardstick. Singapore is a role model because it did it in a very short time. That is why we are talking about Singapore. So what really means we are really not traveling to Singapore. We want to be as developed as Singapore in as short a time as Singapore did, because they are also beginning from the same level as Singapore did. We are also beginning from the same level as Singapore did. So why can't we? Why can't we? I have had arguments, including one that you probably have insinuated here, that there is corruption, so we can't be like Singapore.
Yes, and actually, allow me to cut you short. Some of the Kenyans have been, arguing that, Singapore never became Singapore with corrupt leaders. And that is what we have heard from the United Opposition leaders and some few of Kenyans. And they say that, how comes Kenya can be Singapore when the father of that house is corrupt? First, is it possible for Kenya to be Singapore with corrupt leaders?
Two questions. Is there anybody in this country who has never been called corrupt? So where are we going to import the non-corrupt leaders? Where? And those people shouting the loudest that there is corruption in Kenya, so we can't be like Singapore, have themselves been accused of corruption in the past. Some of them even proven corruption. What you hear people talk about a sitting president at any given time is a narrative coined by the people who want that seat. And when they coin it and sell it and rub it in until people walk the streets believing the current president is corrupt, as soon as he leaves that office, nobody will talk about corruption and his name in the same sentence again. So the truth of the matter today is that all of us Africans have levels of corruption. Not even Africans, everybody in the world, including Singapore. There's a lot of corruption even as we speak now. So, and two, we are not going to say we cannot develop until we finish corruption. It is not finishable anywhere in the world.
It cannot end?
In fact, it is being Singapore that will reduce corruption, and not reducing corruption that will take us to Singapore.
How will Singapore reduce corruption?
How will development reduce corruption? Look at from your observation. The poorer we are, the more that we tolerate corruption from our leaders. The more we tolerate corruption from our leaders. Because as long as your leaders give you something small, look at the way governors behave.
Tokens.
Governors are moving from one county to another in choppers. When they have schools in their areas with rotten roofs with tin sheets that are rusted, walls are mud, windows are missing, the compounds are mud and dust. But their governors are moving around in choppers. And the people, because of their poverty levels, don't even notice that. And even if they do, they think that is the way life is supposed to be. Or they are given 100 bob, 200 bob. And, development goes hand in hand with education. In fact, the key facilitator of development is education. Then you add investment, you add employment, you add infrastructures like transport, communication, and all. And then you are good to go. Let me tell you, when people are largely not so poor, they have enough to eat them, they will be able to talk against corruption, they will be able to inform against corruption, they will be able to tell off the corrupt. But when people are largely poor, they spend most of their time admiring the leaders who probably are in those positions having been corrupt.
Let's talk about, let us be realistic
Yes.
and talk about the real things and what should be done
For us to get to
be,
the Singapore
to
way.
be in Singapore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What we look at Singapore and see why we admire it is good housing. Is good transport infrastructure. Is good health care. Is good social amenities. Those are the things we look at Singapore and admire and say we want to be like Singapore. And we're doing that right now. So, if we achieve that, corruption will automatically go down. For example, when you look at the slums, don't you think the crimes are greater in slums than elsewhere? Because human beings commit crimes pushed forward by emotions brought either by anger, hunger, love, hate. Such emotional issues push people to do certain things. Certain people have killed because of love. Certain people have killed because of hunger. Certain people have killed because of anger. Those things are more common in poverty-stricken areas. Even corruption, people are pushed to do them because of certain such issues. Let us make sure every Kenyan has enough. Then you will see corruption commensurately go down because first of increased watchdogs and because of reduced demands for corruption. Some people just go for, because they have just looked around and there's no other way they can make money.
And President Ruto said that, you know what, affordable houses is one of the projects that, you know, should lead us to the Singapore way. And some of the Kenyans argued that even if you are building these houses, why should you tax us to build these houses? Why?
How else would you want us to build them? How else would you want us to build them? Because, my brother, the Kenyan revenue is very limited. Kenya practically collects just about 2.6 trillion. The 2.6 trillion, 1.1 trillion goes to repayment of debt. 900 billion goes to the counties. To recurrent expenditure. That is already 2 trillion gone. The 600 billion left, 450 billion goes to the counties.
County governments.
What is left there for you to build affordable housing, do the roads, do the stadia, and so on? What is left there? So, if we have to do any large earth-changing structures, infrastructure, we need to either tax you before we build it or tax you after we build it. Let me explain how those two works. Taxing you before we build it is what we see we are doing in affordable housing. Taxing you after we build it is what you see going on in the expressway.
And Rironi?
Rironi will also be like that.
Yes.
And that is what is going on in the SGR. SGR actually is going both. Because before it was built, 1.5% railway levy was introduced in all imports. And if you want to get how much that money is per year or per month, simply get the total value of our imports and take 1.5%. Then you know how much we are collecting just for that railway. And still we are using it and paying it at market rates. So we are being taxed before and thereafter. So was expressway. And why I always argue the way I do. When these things were being developed, nobody challenged the then president. Nobody challenged. Why are you introducing new tax to do the railway? Why don't you just build it? The same people who never said anything then, today some are even in court challenging the Rironi Mau Summit. Kenya, I always say, belongs to all of us. Whether you are from Muranga or from Nyalgunga. Whether you are from Masabit or from Narok. So we should be able to share its resources equally. The resources include the infrastructure, and they also include the leadership positions. So when we want to do the Rironi Mau Summit with the same model that we used to do the SGR, with the same model that we used to do the expressway, then you protest and go to court. Are some Kenyans less Kenyans than others?
What do you mean, Mr. Odoyo?
What I mean,
yes.
What I mean, when we now want to open Nairobi to western side of Kenya, you resist and go to court.
Now your point.
When we are opening Nairobi to Mount Kenya, building a dual carriageway, Makutano, Marua, Nyeri, you are silent. You are not complaining. Are we treating all Kenyans equally?
So your argument is that the central Kenya part is favoring itself much than the
favored
other region.
itself, because now they have no opportunity to favor themselves. Now, because now the president is somebody else who is trying to redistribute infrastructure to all parts of Kenya.
But it was them who even elected this president.
Who?
Why do you say so?
Who?
The larger part of Mount Kenya.
Everybody else elected this president. Everybody. But let me tell you something I have told people. People told me, Owidi, why are you suggesting that these people are against President William Ruto and they elected him? Haven't you asked me that? Did they have an option of electing somebody else other than Ruto?
Of course, there were various, presidential candidates. Among them was the late Raila Odinga.
The other two are, you remember I told you a presidential candidate must be believable, credible, and formidable. None of those two were, so we only had two, Raila Odinga and William Ruto. The Kikuyu then, the mindset they have had after the campaign between Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga in the two elections, Raila was a devil. Afadhali their Ruto, who was even with their Uhuru.
But even as far as that is concerned, Raila Odinga, the late, managed to gather over 1 million.
Yes, because, of course, what is wrong with that? Here is a community which has two people, none of them is from theirs. So majority of them chose Ruto, the smallest chose Raila. Those are the only options they had. So to come and say, oh, we gave Raila, what option did you have other than giving Raila their million? What option did you have other than giving Ruto the 3 or so million? You didn't have an option. So let's say this, and I think it is not about giving the votes, and it is not about the people of Mount Kenya, it is about the leaders from there. They are trying to use that large number of homogeneous voting bloc to block other people from other parts of Kenya from taking leadership of Kenya and doing it peacefully until their term is over.
Really?
Yes, that is the truth.
Do you mean what you're saying?
I mean it 100%, and I can repeat it again and again and again until they get the picture. Let me tell you something which I have not told you before. When Uhuru Kenyatta chose to support Raila Odinga, he abandoned William Ruto.
Absolutely.
What was William Ruto's mistake? You don't know. William Ruto mistake that he was going to be an executive president. But if Uhuru went for Raila Odinga, he was going to manipulate him using BBI, where he put in executive prime minister and was adding 72 new seats.
But
the 72 new seats he was going to use to elect himself executive prime minister if BBI went through. In a sense, Uhuru was using Raila to remain in power post-2022.
But even the BBI initiative, it was rejected by the courts.
That is what I am telling you. But Uhuru didn't know it was going to be rejected. That is why he chose to support Raila and not Ruto. He did not know. He did not know that Ruto would put a spirited fight. I think in his head, he believed after rejecting Ruto and castigating him publicly as I don't know what, as a mangering, he would sit back and forget about his presidential ambitions. So the truth of the matter, Uhuru Kenyatta did not genuinely support Raila to be president of Kenya. He wanted to remain in power, like Putin did by changing from president to prime minister.
But there was a time even Raila Odinga said that Uhuru Kenyatta is his best friend. Why do you say that the move by the former president to support Raila Odinga was not genuine?
I am able to see that he is not your best friend, but you are not able to see. Raila was unable to see the trick, or maybe he saw it. You know, one day I sat with Raila. He used to be my friend at one point in time, and I told him, I think this man called James Orengo is not genuine with you. You know what he told me? He told me, James Orengo and Yang Nyongo, those are my age mates. And I know they don't like me. But it is what they say in public that matters. Now, Raila Odinga was saying that in public because for him, he wanted to be the president. And so, to win Uhuru's people, he had to say Uhuru is his best friend. That is politics, how it works.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said that we want Nairobi,
yes,
the city, to be moved,
yes,
from Nairobi to the Narok, to Narok County.
Correct.
Why were you saying that?
To open.
Why do you think that the city now needs to move to
open
to
the
Narok
country for infrastructure development? Let me tell you some things which you will never.
Do you
notice.
mean that there is no infrastructure taking place currently?
Let me tell you something about infrastructure development. People who are in power tend to favor their regions in infrastructure development. And it is infrastructure development that makes places grow. For example, when the Thika Superhighway was built, the development along Thika Road just boomed overnight. If you took 5 years before going to that, and when you go, you wonder where you are.
Sure.
Before the Superhighway was built, after you pass Kasarani, there was no buildings on the left or right much all the way. So infrastructure development does that. When the Eastern Bypass was built, Utawala, Ruai, all the way to Riru, developed overnight. Today, if you are a person who buys things online, when you call, where is that? Come to Ruai, come to Utawala. That is where business is going. Right? When the Northern Bypass was built, Ruaka, all the way to Ruiru, developed overnight. And you may not understand how those roads were built. There's also a Southern Bypass. Have you noticed that Southern Bypass was built almost beginning from town, here at Airtel?
From town?
Here at Airtel, isn't it? Airtel was already developed by the time you were building that bypass, isn't it? There's nothing new. But look at where the Eastern and the Northern Bypass began and where they moved. Ideally, if you wanted to build a proper Southern Bypass to open the city of Nairobi, it should have started from Athi River to Kikuyu where it ended. And it would have moved outer. Not so close to town as in Langata, Karen, and then it is there. So somebody was mischievous in where we have the Southern Bypass. But somebody was deliberate in where we have the Eastern and the Northern bypasses, because they opened the lands in those places to improve in value and those areas to improve in development. What I'm saying, infrastructure brings development. So to spread development throughout the country, let's also have the capital now move to Kajiado. We have developed Nairobi, to Narok. Let it also develop. Just like we moved the one in Dar to Dodoma, the one in Lagos to Abuja. It is going to spread development to Kenya. Because look at what happened when we were going for Christmas. People going to Western Kenya literally slept on the road. You know why? Because somebody in his warped wisdom decided that the SGR will not cross Naivasha. It did not make sense to me why SGR did not end in Nairobi but went and ended in some failed in Naivasha. It does not make sense for me why SGR did not reach Kisumu or Eldoret. If SGR reached Kisumu, Kenyans would have not slept on the road at Rironi because of traffic jam. So when we look at those are things that are the ordinary hoi polloi in the streets cannot understand, cannot see, cannot comprehend, cannot interpret.
But those are some of the things that, the leaders who have been elected from various parts of the country, should advocate for the benefit of their own people?
They can't.
Why?
Because we elect leaders depending on how they follow tribal kingpins, not what brain they have to see things and interpret. I'm not even finished about why Kenyans slept on the road towards Nakuru and Eldoret. There is an airport in Kisumu, but it can only handle a certain size of aircraft. So even the number of aircraft going to Kisumu must be small ones and many. So it is very expensive to travel by air those sides. But the most important, we should have a rail going there. But despite having no proper railway reaching Kisumu, you still want to resist building a superhighway towards that direction. Are these people also not Kenyans? Do you know the west of the Rift Valley have a half of Kenyans? Kenyans who live west of the Rift Valley are 50% of total Kenyans.
But why
and there is no proper highway. No, let me not say proper. There is no highway to that place. Because that narrow road, we can't even call it a highway.
Don't you think that it is the failure of the leaders from that region?
It is not the failure of the leaders
because
of the
they
region.
need to come out and fight for their space.
We are not having a country where local leaders need to fight the central leadership to get development. We are in a country where we have laws. We are in a country where we have parliament to distribute resources. But you see, sometimes when parliament has allocated resources for doing something, you come here and find people resisting, some running to court, some telling us we can't pay for it. Even this idea of saying we are resisting Rironi Mau Summit because it will be paid. We are paying expressway and we are not complaining. Is highways are developed in the world using the same structure. When you are doing a super highway, there must be side roads on each side.
Which people can pass through.
Which people who do not want to use the super highway can use. For example, you live on one side of the highway. Your school is on the other side. You will use the side road.
Yes.
You find an underpass behind or in front or an overpass to cross to your school daily without paying for the highway. If the person you need to visit or the market you need to visit is on the same side as your home, you don't need to go onto the highway if it is not far. You just need to remain on that side throughout. That is how superhighways are built. They are different from expressways also. So what we are doing, if there would be people who would not want to pay, they should use those side roads. But I want to advise them from a scientific point of view. Motor vehicles consume fuel depending on how long they take on the road more than how fast they move. Right? So if you take 6 hours on the road, if you use 100 liters, if you take 3 hours, you are most likely going to use 50 or 60 liters. In any case, when vehicles begin to move fast, they no longer need fuel to maintain that movement, just a little of it. Yes. But when the traffic is low, a vehicle consumes fuel when you push the pedal, because that pedal is called a fuel pump. So if you are ever on the fuel starting, braking, braking, you use more fuel. So people will go to Kisumu and Eldoret back to Nairobi on half tank if they used to do that in full tank. So the saving will be so big that even if you pay 4,000 between Nairobi and Eldoret, it will still be worth it.
Yeah.
So that is what I want to advise motorists. They need to encourage, they need to support. But I also must tell you that the complaint about the Singapore dream is not genuine. It is the same reason we complain about Talanta Stadium. It is the same reason we complain about Rironi Mau Summit. It is the same reason we complain about the Bomas Convention Center. It is the same reason why we complained about Adani. It is the same reason why we kept on saying SHA is not working. It is the same reason that we say anything that President William Ruto will attempt to do, we must complain, we must try to stop it, so he has no legacy. That is why before I said the reason why there's resistance to President William Ruto's regime is issue of legacy, issue of resources, and issue of tribalism. Yeah.
And earlier on, last year, the president said that he has managed to do and to work more than the previous presidents. Do you think and do you agree with him?
I'm not thinking I know.
He is the best president than
I am not thinking I know.
the rest of
Let me tell you
previous presidents?
Those things I have counted now, the ones that are being resisted, don't you think they are more than what Uhuru did in all his 10 years? They are more. In fact, even Kibaki, which we largely accepted, you know why Kibaki was very acceptable? Moi had been there for 24 years. And over the years, with the kind of constitution he has, he grew worse and worse. So a new breed Kibaki was the relief Kenyans wanted. And fortunately for him, he left in time before he began being anything worse than what we expected. If he took long, he would have really changed. You remember, by the time we were going to second term, people like Michuki had already begun using languages like, if you rattle a snake, you'll be bitten, shoot on sight. You know, even this thing you are blaming President William Ruto, shoot their legs. Michuki literally said, shoot on sight, when the Maasai and the Kikuyu were fighting in Enosupokia. And he did not say today and never happened. He said today, and the next day Maasais were shot from behind by Kenyan police in the tribal clashes is in Enosupokia. So let us just believe Kenya is for all of us. And the best thing that will bring peace in this country is not democracy. It is knowing that
not democracy.
It is knowing that we can share the resources equally. Just by, you know, democracy, I need you to understand. Democracy is simply voting and having the person with the largest votes win. But again, that person who has the largest votes, you can do what Raila and Uhuru did to Ruto. Immediately Ruto was sworn in. Because Uhuru had not got a good reason, he pushed Raila onto the streets, go and protest, open the server, when Raila himself knew.
Was it Uhuru pushing him?
Do you know who went to the streets immediately after elections? Azimio. Who was the boss of Azimio? Azimio was headed by Uhuru, not Raila. Raila was the head of ODM. So, and let me tell you those things that probably you do not put your head to. Uhuru was the boss of Azimio. And you know who was ahead in the protests in 2023? Kioni, Karua, what is this other guy? I've forgotten the name. But look at those who are in the street.
The cost of living.
Complaining of the cost. You want to complain about the cost of living of a president who has not even read his first budget. And because they knew some Kenyans will not absorb that, they wanted a reason for each and every Kenyans. And for majority of Raila Odinga's diehard supporters, they coined another reason, open the server. Yet, these people telling people to go to the street for the server to be opened know very well the Kenyan Constitution, presidential elections, and at the Supreme Court. After that, you can do nothing about it except wait for the 2027.
For the next elections.
Do you know what happened in 2007? After the GSU removed the electoral body then from KICC to State House and so on in, the then Constitutional Affairs Minister Martha Karua came and told Kenyans, you wait for the next general election.
Which was 2013.
Yes. That is what she told them. But here, Uhuru sent Azimio to the streets. They are complaining about cost of living, a cost of living which was his own creation. They are trying to use the other lot to complain about the election. They need to open the server. And if I explain to you how elections are done in Kenya, the server is inconsequential. It is only used for the illiterate. Because the election is done at a polling station where every candidate has an agent. 4 forms are generated containing the same result, signed by all the agents. One is pinned on the wall. One is given to each of the presidential candidates. One is scanned and sent to IEBC headquarters,
to the main,
and another physical copy sent there. When we went to the courts that Raila Odinga went that his votes were stolen, there were no two forms which were found to be different. There was no time the form contained by his agent, the one pinned at the door, the one with other presidential candidates, the one that went to IBC were different. And one Smoking Wanjala challenged him in court, produce one single form that is not tallying, that was changed by Kamago. Nothing was produced. And when you complain that the server changed things, where is yours that is not changed? Yako ile ulihesabu.
Now, let's go ahead because of time. Let's talk about the ODM party, Orange Democratic Party, past Raila Odinga. Recently, we have seen there's been some of the divisions between, you know, there's been division between two groups. There's this group led by, you know, the Nairobi Senator, Edwin Sifuna, who believes that we never agreed that we will support President Ruto in 2027. Our agreement was we go until 2027. About election, none. And there's other group which believes that, you know what, we need to go forward, make coalition with UDA and form the next government in 2027. So what is your reflection on this?
First of all, let me just inform you that ODM was divided way before Raila Odinga died. The only silence you saw there was silence because the elephant was standing in the room. The only reason you saw that, Raila Odinga was larger than life sitting there, and so nobody would. But you can remember together with me that Sifuna actually defied Raila, and Kakamega told him that if you go with Ruto, I am leaving ODM. Didn't Sifuna say that? Sifuna said that in Kakamega. So, these people, Osotsi, Sifuna, Caleb Amisi, and many others, had already left ODM even before Baba died, because they had already been induced to go to the other side. It is not that the other side was better. No.
They were forced?
The induced. I used the word induced. I select my words correctly.
Very correct.
So they went to the other side. So it's not that, it's only that now, with Baba absent, now they are bolder. And some people have told us that, oh, you know, Baba had said this, he said Sifuna is the spokesperson and the Secretary General. Now, that is Baba for you. That is how his politics used to work. When Baba was alive, when he had already left Ababu Namwamba, he still went to publicly tell the world that Ababu Namwamba is the Secretary General of ODM, and is our man and our spokesman. But when time reached to kick him out, he did it without mercy. Not that he had not made up his mind. There was another guy called Magarer Langat, who was the CEO of ODM then. He told the world that that is the CEO. He has confidence in him. But he personally walked to his office together with the youth, purporting to have a meeting there, and took the Nairobi MCS aligned to ODM to throw him out physically. In fact, Baba never used to fire people using letters. Raila Odinga never fired anybody using a letter.
It was enforcement?
He just throws you out of office and that's it. The way Magarer Rangat was thrown out of ODM office, the so-called Orange House then.
Yes.
Even if he had sent for change from the shop, that change is lost. Because you are lifted from the office, thrown into a car, and kicked that you go without looking back. So that is what he was preparing Sifuna for. So Sifuna is very lucky, very, very lucky that Baba passed on before his time to be humiliated the way Ababu and Magarer were humiliated came. He was going to be. When Baba said that we should not commit the party to anything that the party had not agreed on, he was simply saying, we will agree and ODM will have a presidential candidate. But from where I sit, I know that candidate was not going to be Raila Odinga.
It was who? President Ruto?
It was going to be Ruto. Who else was he going to be? Because you remember, ODM party constitution demands that the presidential candidate by the party is the party leader.
Party leader.
But Raila Odinga, if he was going to be the candidate, He has never shied from saying it, and he never said it. So the candidate he was going to have was President William Ruto. I have heard people say so many other things, but I know what it is. So, after all, Raila Odinga, if it is not Ruto he wanted to side with, why did he choose to side with him when all these people who want to be presidential candidates were all there? Why didn't he side with Kalonzo or Matiang'i or whoever else? And he did with Ruto. Why was he going to change and leave Ruto and go to somebody else?
So should we expect the likes of, Edwin Sifuna, Babu Wino, Honorable Kibagendi and others to shift to opposition very soon, to be kicked out of ODM officially? I
told you they had shifted even before Baba died. They are only in ODM to ensure that
But they have not made it official.
They can't make it official because of the law. And because of their intention of destroying the ODM, the way Raila Odinga destroyed KANU, so that by the time he's leaving it, he leaves it a shell. So, Uhuru Kenyatta was defeated in his first presidential attempt in 2002 because Raila Odinga stayed in KANU long enough to destroy it and walk out. And he was similarly, interestingly, a Secretary General then. So when he walked out having destroyed KANU. What was left was not good enough to make Uhuru the president. So that is the same script Sifuna, Osotsi, Amisi, and the rest are using. They want to destroy ODM, cause commotion, cause internal wrangles. By the time they walk out, there is no ODM big enough to give anybody support. Actually, from where I sit, I would request the president to go for the people he wants to vote for him rather than for the political parties. Because those political parties are owned by certain people and can be fought off until they become too little pieces to help anybody. So from the work the president is doing now, he needs to go for each community on their own and say, I want you guys to do for me this in exchange for this, in exchange for being your good president.
He should go directly to the ground.
He needs to talk to the people.
Don't you think that when the likes of Babu Wino, Edwin Sifuna and others, the rest left ODM, don't you think that ODM will only remain to be a party of Nyanza region only?
Even now it is already only Nyanza.
Because then we used to know ODM had some roots in Kakamega, even especially parts of Western Kenya, parts of Masai.
Other than winning, was it Magarini?
Magarini.
It was largely assisted by UDA. The only seats they won were in Nyanza. Even a simple MCA seat outside Nyanza, they didn't win.
Even Narok Town.
Did they win Narok Town?
Not really. It was DCP.
Yes. So that tells you that ODM has been reduced to Nyanza. And even in Nyanza, it is going to be split. If you look at all those people who have rebelled against ODM within Luoland, they all come from northern Nyanza. South Nyanza is not touched. No, there's nobody in Migori rebelling and nobody in Homa Bay rebelling from ODM or from President William Ruto's broad-based government. So that is again another recipe for division, another recipe for chaos within the party. But if ODM wanted to remain united, there are few things they must stop. Internal jealousy they must stop. They must accommodate everyone else and look up to their goals. Everyone else means even people from other political parties. But ODM fears internal competition because ODM is populated right now by leaders whose hands were held by Raila Odinga. None of them has the wherewithal to compete a formidable opponent within their backyards. That is why, even though they are pretending to want to support President William Ruto, all they want is their own survival. If these people could not support President Raila Odinga to win, do you think they have any intention of supporting Ruto? I remember in 2022 when we were going for the elections.
You mean they're there because of their survival?
They just want to survive. They just want to survive. In fact, some of them are friends to the government to avoid being made accountable for their criminal actions. So, for me, Relying on ODM for anything is very dangerous. Raila Odinga relied on them, but after their elections, they don't care about Raila. They never cared about his own election. I remember in 2022, Raila ran on Azimio. But the candidates within, say, Lowland ran on ODM. But if you went to campaign there for Azimio, they didn't want. If you went there to campaign and you have a party that was affiliated to Azimio, they don't want. That Raila Odinga they pretended to love, they did not want somebody campaigning for Azimio. That is how bad it was. They are there for their own personal survival because they would wink people that what the people need is ODM. And if not ODM, then nobody.
Okay. Now, as we conclude now, because we are almost finishing, what do you have to say on opposition politics? Will they oust President Ruto in 2027?
You know, the only thing that ever shook President William Ruto again, or in the past, was the Gen Z movement. Incidentally, when you look at the opposition formation, there is no Gen Z among them. There is no. Okay, let's say they don't want to make a Gen Z a presidential candidate. That's fine, it's understandable. But how come even in their leadership, there is no Gen Z up front? Number two, the reason why they are still surviving is because they have not even mentioned their real candidate.
But Rigathi Gachagua is saying it is too early. They will announce.
How long did you know Raila Odinga will be? How long did you take to know Raila Odinga will be a candidate in the next general election? How long did you take to know that President William Ruto was going to be a candidate pre-2022? As early as 5 years before. So hizo za kufichwa, the only person you can hide is the sitting president. You can, but our. Because tell me, we have say Kalonzo and Matiang'i. This is not the same Matiang'i who disobeyed 12 court orders. This is not the same Matiang'i who bundled a Kenyan born in Nyando and sent him to Canada that is not a citizen. This is not the same Matiang'i who woke up one morning and say all school buses will be yellow without public participation. This is not the same Matiang'i who woke up one morning and said he's changing the police uniform. This is not the same Matiang'i who has been accused of corruption of land, of the sewer land. See, this is the same one. That is why he is still hiding behind. I heard him even dismissing the Singapore dream. If you are a presidential candidate who have no dream of making Kenya a first world country, you have no business even attempting to run. So the moment the opposition will come up with their candidate, they will be cooked because we will tell them who they are.
All right. That is the words by Mr. Odoyo Owidi. Thank you for coming, sir.
Asante sana.
And looking forward to have you in other conversations
Karibu.
throughout this year.
Karibu.
So that is where we conclude our conversation. And as I earlier stated, that if you need any business partnership with the Kenya Times, you want us to advertise for you, your business, then don't hesitate to reach out through the number that has been provided below. See you in the next interview. I've been your host, Nixon Njau. Bye-bye.